Hello everybody, Sagana Girl here, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the deck that I've chosen to read for the month of November. I do want to say that before I start, I did a two-part Ludi Lescott review after finishing up with it for October, and the first part I've put on YouTube, and the second part I can't figure out how to get off of my computer and onto YouTube. So it's taking me a little bit of time to figure that out, and I was getting a little bit frustrated, so I have left it alone and will have to do a little bit more research to figure out how to get that video uploaded. So the second half of the Ludi Lescott was just me talking about the new deck spread that I use and some of the insights that I got from that. So hopefully I will get that up in the next little while. For today, however, I want to talk a little bit about the deck that I'm going to be using for my monthly deck challenge. I've had this deck for quite a while. I'm trying to remember the date. I want to say I ordered it at the start of the summer and it's now November, so I've had it for a bit. I've been playing with it here and there. I haven't completely committed to it because I have a couple of other decks that I've been playing with as well. And trying to decide to read with this one for November was difficult because I did just get, I'm looking at my side because I just realized I left it upstairs. I did just get the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot, which is beautiful, but I've committed to using this new deck. So I'll talk a little bit about that to start. So the deck I'm using is the Cheimonette Tarot. The creator's name is Gallanter, and I came across this deck, I can't remember how I came across this deck actually. I think it was a Kickstarter project, and I was online researching Kickstarter and came across Eden's project of doing the Cheimonette Tarot, and that's how I kind of came across it. I didn't actually purchase it as part of Kickstarter because it was already finished when I decided to purchase it, but that's how I came across it. So it comes in a little paper box that you can see has been well worn from me opening and closing it. So, you know, I don't know that the box is a keeper, but it's been storing the deck, so I've been using it. On the side of the box it says, the Cheimonette Tarot is a new kind of deck applying a unique interpretation to a traditional card structure. It is designed to encourage educated, free association and a creative approach to using tarot. So the little bit that I've played with it before actually committing to reading, I will have to 100% agree that it is very much a deck to expand your imagination and your understanding of the tarot. I don't know if, I guess a deck is only intuitive if it speaks to you, so it is an intuitive style deck in that you are encouraged to come up with your own story and interpretation for each card. Not always do the cards resonate with me, but that's okay because there is a process with regards to that as well. Okay, so that's the box. Okay. The cards are small, so in relationship to, let's say, the Book of Shadows card, there's the Book of Shadows card, and here would be the Cheimonette. So a little bit shorter, a little bit fatter, wider, but definitely shorter. So it is a small deck. I would have liked to see the cards bigger. I think the artwork warrants a bigger deck, and I think that down the road, if Miss Gallanter decides to republish this, I think those of us that are using the deck would really appreciate a larger card. The cardstock it's not as rigid as you would see with the Blue Angel Oracle cards, but it's not, you know, quite flimsy either. So again, you know me, I like to shuffle, so they do make for good shuffling. Okay, here is the back of the card. So right away you get this feeling of really watery watercolor prints. really interesting interpretations. The human form is the primary focus of this deck. There are animals used in each suit, so each suit has its own particular animal, and that animal is built in to the background or into the story of the card. Okay, but there's the background of the backing of the card. You could reverse it to some extent. You do have this little black mark here that would not be the same. Whoops, sorry. It would not be the same if you turned it around. But I work with reversal, so for me it's not that big of a deal if it looks upside down or doesn't look upside down. I work with them regardless. Okay. Your normal, it's a normal 78 card deck, except for the fact that you've got 2 extra cards. So Miss Gallanter has decided to put in 3 versions of the World card. And this reminds me a little bit of the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck, where he's got 3 versions of the Magician's card. So before I talk about the book, since I'm on the cards, I'll just show you the 3 versions of the World card. So here's the first. Okay, so you've got the serpent, the Ouroboros, okay, and some planets, some orbs. It should talk about the symbology in the card inner book, which I'll get to in a second. Here's her second rendition. I quite like that one. More traditional with RWS in that there is the dancer, I guess you could call her, in the center. And then, sorry, the third. So Miss Gallanter does go into a bit of a description for each of these variations of the World card in the book. The little white book that comes with the deck is exactly that, a little white book. It doesn't have number pages, but it's got a write-up of each card, and I like that it's got the print of the card in color. Okay, so it talks about the card. Now I will say that her descriptions of the cards in the deck are some of them are quite different than the RWS decks. So if you have difficulty with that, or if you're a new reader, you may want to have an RWS deck alongside with you with a book that has the traditional meanings. If that doesn't bother you and you are invested in becoming more of an intuitive reader with this deck, then I think that this would work really well. But please be mindful that I found that my intuition with this deck isn't necessarily correlating with what I know to be the meaning of the card. So for example, the 3 of discs in the RWS has a particular meaning for me, but when I see the 3 of discs in Miss Gallanter's deck, I don't necessarily get that same intuitive message. I don't necessarily go to that same description. So I have to admit, it's only been 3 days that I've been working with this deck consistently, so I do find that a little bit frustrating. I guess sometimes I like to know what I know, and so when I don't know what I know, I just get a little bit frustrated. So for me, this is a work deck. Like, I really need to sit down and think about the cards and take my time and look deeper as I move through the deck. So again, if you like that, then this is a great deck, and if you don't like that, then this may not be the best choice. Regardless of how you feel about the cards, I'm going to go through some of the art that some of the cards that I quite enjoy, and the artwork is beautiful. So I'll show you some of that, and then that might give you a better inkling of whether or not this would be something you'd like to purchase for yourself. As I'm talking, I'm trying to think about how much I paid for the deck, and I want to say it was about $45, but I don't remember. I want to say it was about $45. Okay, I want to show you the full card first off. I like it because it is the only card that has no color, just black and white. So there is some meaning that you can draw from that, and he's holding his tail. balanced on his tippy toe on the edge of that mountain on the precipice. So you can see that there is a black border, and that is consistent with all of the cards. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some of my favorites. Okay, and some of the names have been changed, and some of the traditional portrayal of the card has been changed, which again, I quite enjoy that. Okay, so the Hermit is now time. And one thing I really like about this deck is that Miss Gallanter uses the court cards. So the members of the court for each suit, you will see them in the depictions of that suit, so in the pip cards of that suit, but you'll also see them throughout the arcana, the major arcana as well. So that's kind of an interesting thing that she's done. And I find that that's been helpful with reading, because I find that the characteristics of that court card, the queen, the king, the prince, the princess, that energy then transfers quite well into the pip card that she's decided to use that particular court figure in, and I quite enjoy that. Okay, she does use the princess, prince, queen, and king for the court cards. Okay, here's the 7 of staves, and so that would be the queen of staves pictured there. The 2 of discs, and that would be the prince of discs. And she talks about the stuff, which court character she's used. Okay. The 4 of swords. I'm not usually a big fan of the swords suit in general, but I really, really am enjoying how she's depicted the swords in this deck. It's quite beautiful, quite melancholy, very interesting. The 7 of swords, again, that watercolor feel. The ace of swords. The emperor. I think this is one of my favorite emperor cards. I don't know, I get a really good feeling for what the emperor means in this card. Yeah, I especially like that he's got his eyes closed. The priest, which would, I guess, be the Hierophant. Interesting that he would have the sickle, something that we traditionally see with the death card. This is one of my favorite swords. The 2 of swords. Lots of mirroring, lots of shadowing in the sword suit. This, I think, is my favorite card of the whole deck. I really, truly believe that. This is my favorite card. The 8 of swords. I love the confinement and, yeah, the feeling stuck and caught between a rock and a hard place, and the feeling that he's sort of got himself into this predicament and now he's got to figure out a way to get out of it. So I quite like that one. The death card is just, it's beautiful. I have some examples of the court cards. The court cards are very characteristic. Like they're very. She made each one very different, which I quite like. Queen of Discs. That was. Here's the King of Swords. The Queen of Cups. And the Prince of Cups. Okay, so that's my very quick sneak peek at the Cheimonette Tarot. That's the deck that I'll be using for this month. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or comment below. I will leave the website from which I purchased the deck, as long as with some of the other details, in the comment section. So other than that, I look forward to hearing any feedback that you might have, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.